Welcome back to Beyond the Buckets. Happy to have Coach Q, Quintin Lester. Welcome to the program, my brother.
Thank you. Nice to have me. Thank you for having me, sir.
Well, I'd like to start off with a bang. What's something that most people might not know about you?
Something people might not know about me. Well, I mean, I'm from Macon, Alaska. That kind of gets people a little curious when we first talk about it.
Sure.
I mean, all my AK fam know I'm from out there, man. But I mean, I would say a lot of people know.
Gotcha. Trajan Langdon fan?
Absolutely, man. We're from the same high school family. Play for the same high school coach, man, Chuck White.
Oh, really? Trajan Langdon was one of my favorite players. He even had me rocking 21 because that was his number for a little bit. So much respect.
Yeah, man. He was the inspiration. He's the inspiration to a lot of Alaska athletes, man.
For sure.
He set man.
You were
he's an East.
You've been a long-time high school coach, no longer coaching, and now you're the director of basketball operations for Game Changer Sports. But why don't you give everybody a 3-minute backstory on you and kind of your journey and in this basketball world?
Okay. I'm from, like I said, man, I'm from East Anchorage, Alaska. Spent the majority of my youth there. Left there when I was 17. I went to Skagit Valley Community College in Washington, played for Roger Valentine. Kind of bounced around the country a little bit, man. My family moved around a lot. But like I said, I went to JUCO in Washington, man. I spent my last 2 years in California at Biola University. Came out to Las Vegas in 2004. I coached at Brindley Middle School for 2 years. Then I made a high school run. I coached both varsity and every level on the boys' side at Liberty High School, varsity on the girls' side. I've ran my club, Las Vegas Live. We now merged with Game Changers to be GC Live for the last year. Head of basketball operations, man. It's been a great run basketball, man. I've been chin deep in it for quite some time.
Definitely 10 toes down, I'm sure, the entire time. But tell me a little bit. We had a great pre-call the other day, and we touched on a bunch of different things with regard to the AAU landscape and, your model, something that, I actually really commend because the AAU circuit teams and everything is just getting so overblown and so overhyped. And a lot of people can't really tell what's real and what's fake or the misinformation that is out there. So tell me a little bit about, your thoughts on the whole AAU model. Obviously, we both do club programs, but, we try to do it in a very similar way. So tell me a little bit about your philosophy.
I'm just extremely fanatical about development. Development of the body, development of skill, development of IQ. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with AAU. I believe I love the intention. I love what it's built for, development, exposure. But I just think it's just become a little watered down, and the focus is kind of shifted. Just various reasons. I think there's people who do it right. They have the right intention. They want to build on their kids. They want to build the character of their kids. But I do think that, the competition and the clout of it has kind of watered the AAU scene down. But I mean, like I said, man, I highly respect the guys who keep philosophy, who keep development in mind, and keep development at a premium. Those are the guys whom I really respect. It's just the AAU world. It can be kind of tricky, man. I'm sure, as you can see, man, it can be kind of tricky. But when it's used correctly, I think it's one of the best things that basketball can have.
Yeah. What do you think we can do better as a community? I say everybody involved with AAU. Is there account and balance? Is there things that need to be put in place for us to continue to grow the game and give the intention, like you mentioned, which is kids opportunity to play beyond high school? But I think we're missing the boat in so many ways. What do you think that we could do?
It's a very interesting question. I mean, I think if everyone's intentions remain pure and keep the kids first, and keep adult antics out of the and stay away from the political side of it, and possibly even more just, like genuine collaborations between programs about, about their, just maybe collabing on different tournaments or different events, or, because I mean, AAU coaches have become, really territorial about the athletes that they deal with, and they tend to not promote them to have other experiences with other coaches.
Right.
And I just believe, like there's a million ways to skin a cat. I believe, like I just being a student of the game, like listening to other people's philosophies and listening to other and seeing different ways how other programs go about it. I mean, I think if we were to kind of just, and I'll say this as a whole, kind of drop our ego and keep our, keep our integrity high in terms of what we're trying to accomplish, I think that would help alone. I think it's more of a mentality shift than it is anything logistically.
For sure. I think the United States and in general, as far as basketball is concerned, needs to do a much better job of qualifying in most other countries, and namely Canada. That's the reason why they've had so much uprising over the last years, is because all of their coaches have to go through a rigorous certification. Now, we know if we
Yes,
want to do the USA basketball, we have to go through this online course that might take us an hour or whatever, and anybody that can read and write will pass the test. It's not really on court stuff or somebody in a place where they're actually mentoring these coaches. And I think that's one thing that we could do a lot better in the United States. Right now, we don't have that. Second thing is anybody can coach a team. And when you talk about a coach,
yes,
it's kind of really lost that, it's kind of lost that luster of, what a coach actually used to be. When I was growing up and when you were growing up, most of the coaches were teachers. And because they were teachers,
absolutely.
they had a duty to make sure that they were actually teaching. And you mentioned it,
Yes,
you
I fully agree.
what we've gotten to now in the AAU culture is we're talking about the hype or the clout because this kid played in your program or whatever it may be. And because of that, that's when the monetary stuff comes into play, because now more players might want to come because they think they're going to be that kid. Well, we already know that that kid was going to be that kid regardless of where they played. It just so happened that they, took
It's
a
destiny.
picture in your jersey or whatever it may be. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I mean, I totally agree, man. I mean, it's I think a strengthening of the governing body, whether that be AAU, whether that be USA basketball. I mean, I think just kind of a refining of the system would help a lot. Like you said, like you use the term that anybody can coach. Well, I mean, it's true, anybody can stand on a sideline, but like we also talked about yesterday, like not everybody has the ability to teach, and I think the ability to teach is, like I said, common sense ain't so common. Not everybody has the ability to do it, but like everybody thinks they can. And I mean, I think those that probably should not have kind of infiltrated the system just a little bit enough to kind of throw off the balance. But I mean, I believe you're 100% right, man. If the governing body were to make it a little tougher, or make it just put a little bit more effort into maybe refining the coaches, then I believe that would help. Believe that would be a step in the right direction.
Definitely. You told me about how you run your program and you stop your program at ninth grade, your AAU program that is, and the reason behind it. You have a lot of different reasons, but tell me exactly your motto. And I really appreciated it because it's been a thought on my mind, more recent than not. Just what happens in high school and all those dynamics when things start.
Yeah. I mean, once kids, I mean, it's just biologically, physically, mentally, they all go through transitions from 14 to 15, 14 and up. I mean, and sometimes their intentions change, their effort level changes, their passions change. Like you might have a kid from fifth to eighth grade who acts a certain way, and then once he crosses the threshold of high school, he may be a kind of a totally different kid. And so therefore, and plus, like the intention changes on the back end of high school. Families can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so yeah, so we tend to limit our program to ninth, maybe 10th graders if we've had them for a while. And then if we get to that high school level and they want to continue and they want to then use the program for exposure, then we kind of shift gears specifically for that group. We put a specific coach with them. They get practice time because and then we kind of limit the group to we don't just allow anybody to participate in tournaments, especially if they're going to be playing at a higher level. So we usually just get our best solid 7, 8. And then we put them out there to exposure. We do travel, things of that nature, the full AAU experience. But we try to keep the focus on the development of more of our youth, 3rd, 8th, 9th grade.
Yeah, and I think if you do it that way, that's really what we got into the game for anyway, is to develop. And what are the most important years? The developmental years, right? From,
Absolutely.
8 to 14, that 6-year segment, they're going to make their biggest learning growths, period, right? So that's the most important. That's the most important time, and it's gotten me to think, what essentially, how can you have the most impact? Are you going to have the most impact on the back end, or are you going to have the most impact on the front end? And it just makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's worked for us. I mean, we've had a couple 16, 17s, and they've actually had a pretty solid run. But at the same time, I would say that's more of the minority in how we've gone about it. We've been more, stick with the philosophy of development with our young boys. And I mean, it usually works because the longer, especially when we get them young, they usually stay on the back end because our philosophy is already ingrained in them. The families understand what we're trying to accomplish, and it just makes everything a little bit more cohesive for us.
Right. Did you have any experiences where you kind of built a kid up and, got them to this level and then they maybe switched teams or anything like that? And, for
us, no question.
Go ahead. Tell me about that.
Early, it was odd because I come from I have a developmental philosophy, but I started coaching for the school district, which is a bit more organized and a bit more different. The worlds are different than the AAU. And so I'm used to having 45 kids for 4 years or 30 kids for 2 years and knowing who they are and what they have. So when I switched over to the AAU and I saw kids were kind of moving and coming and going early in my AAU career, it used to bother me. Like I'd be like, man, I poured a lot into this kid. He took off and I'm playing with so-and-so and so-and-so. But then I just had to make a transition in philosophy. I figure we're gonna coach the kids who are in front of us. We're gonna develop them for however long that is. If they stick it out, they stick it out. If they don't, man, I wish you well. I'm not gonna be the type to hold a grudge because a family felt that there was something better. Like I'm all cool with that. I do believe that we do things really well. I do believe that we do things with passion and knowledge and intellect and some hustle. But at the same time, I also know that we're not the only people that do this. So therefore, if you go from a situation to where, your kid may thrive in another scenario, your kid may thrive hearing a different voice. Your kid may thrive being in a different environment, playing with different athletes. So I don't take it personal, but early, like I said, man, early, my first year, second year, I was like, man, this kid's leaving. This kid's going, this kid's coming. It was really, but then we just kind of, like I said, man, what it really made us do is dig into our philosophy even more. So it's worked out for us, man. Like I said, man, I used to take it personal, but now I'm like, man, you know what? I'll see you in the gym anyhow, man, and I'll still cheer for you.
Exactly. You're taking the right approach. So many coaches don't take that approach. If my girls don't want to play for my club program, it's no big deal. They got to go wherever they feel that they're going to have the best opportunity to continue their high school or college career after high school. It's so important for people to understand that, and it's not against you. Sometimes you have to leave. Sometimes you have to go find another spot. But understand, sometimes the grass isn't always greener, and that's why I really like your approach on just stopping at at the 15U level and and help this place for them, where it's almost like a, hey, this is almost a graduation, and wherever I can help you find a better, the best place for you to continue, or, or not, whatever, but you're always going to be in our family. And I really like that approach.
Exactly. I mean, it works good for us now, especially with the game changer situation, because one component of what we do is we have a club. We can run our club, but we also have a component of training that even if you're not involved in our program, you can still come be a part of it. So I have a lot of kids. Like I have a lot of kids from other clubs that come and train. I have a lot of kids that are, once they hit that 9th, 10th grade threshold right there, they still continue to work with us. So, I mean, like, I'm never too far away from any of the kids who've come through our program. I'm always a text or a call away. So, I mean, and like I said, man, once I got over, it was a bit of just a transition from high school to AAU was more of a, like I said, it was more of a shift in mentality. Like I had to put my ego aside, like I believe everybody has one, some are bigger than others, but I had to put mine aside to be like, you know what, like if I'm in this for the sake of development, then I have to realize that I'm just a piece in their development. I'm not the whole entire body. And so, but we just provide what we can, and just hope that once they get to a certain level, man, that when they're ready, we clip their wings and they're prepared.
Right. One of my favorite sayings is family. Everybody uses it in their breaks and whatnot, but not everybody embodies it. And so the acronym that I like to use is family, but forget about me. I love you. Worried about me. Whatever is going to benefit you is the most important thing. Does a family sacrifices for one another because you care for that person. And so many people talk about, hashtag family and all that, but not everybody really embodies it. It's just really refreshing to have somebody on the same page. Let's jump into the business side of AAU as well as running a facility. What are some things that people might not know about actually running these sort of things? I think it's actually two separate questions. One would be the facility and the other would be, the club part.
Yeah. I mean, got to understand there's complete ebbs and flows throughout the year. Certain times of the year is going to be much more hotter. Development is much more at a premium, much more in demand. There's other times where competition is more in demand. I mean, especially like with the backdrop of COVID. So like we had like this has been a kind of an odd year with. So I mean, we have a 4-month lockdown in which there's no activity or extremely minimal activity, and then we open back, but we have to adjust on what we can offer because we can't have contact. There's certain protocol that needs to be adhered to. And then, then there's the part where people just want to be back in the gym. There's that flow. And then there's the flow of, okay, now we're cool on being in the gym. We're back in the gym, but now we want to get to playing, so it's got to understand the ebbs and the flows, the timings of the year, when things are hot, when things are not. And I think that just kind of guides how we go about things. That kind of guides how we go about things. I mean, as far as like the facility, man, like we offer everything that we do is year round. We offer our basketball training year round, our speed, agility, strength, and conditioning training year round, our explosion training, our strength training. So I mean, like we just try to stay as active as possible. But plus, right now we're dealing with, and this is the first time we're ever really kind of been dealing with capacity issues with our facility. We can only operate at a certain capacity. We have the capacity to hold, I believe it's 200 people, but right now we can only have 75. So that kind of guides how many slots we can offer during our courses, how many people we can have in the club, how active we can be. So this year, unlike any other year before, has been a year of just different adjustments. But I mean, like I said, man, it's been good. I can't complain.
What are some struggles that you had business wise with the COVID? Because obviously it's hurt everybody in multiple different ways. No matter where you're from or where you live or where you work, it's obviously affected day-to-day interactions as well as transactions. So tell me how it's really affected you guys.
Yeah, I would say the biggest hindrance, for lack of, or way we've been impacted, is our minimums. So for example, we have a Sunday mini camp, okay, that we offer. We come in, we do a combination of different things: skill, speed, agility, strength, conditioning, over a 2-hour period, and we keep it like a camp. Before COVID, on average, we had maybe 30, 40 kids in the camp. Now with the COVID scenario, we can only have 10 per area in our gym. So it's impacted how many customers we can have at how many, at the times we can have them. We have to be more creative in how we balance out our training. A lot of families, rightfully have just health and protocol concerns. There's I mean, it's a very real thing. And that there's families who are just apprehensive about having their athlete in a gym scenario. So what it's made us do is just kind of adjust to the times. I mean, our facility is very top line, in terms of technology. And so, I mean, we make sure that we make sure that we exhaust all safety protocol throughout our, one thing that I tell our people is we're selling safety, because we're going to make sure that your kid is safe or your athlete is safe when they come to our building. We do the temperature checks, we do the checks. Everything is clean and sanitized. We have certain, we adhere to social distancing within the gym, contact. The club, all we're doing right now is training until the governor lifts the mandate for us to compete. And so I would say that's the biggest. It's just been kind of there's more of a fear factor, and rightfully so. Like I've both of my, like we talked about yesterday, both my family, both my father and my mother had COVID, my aunt, my uncle, my grandfather, a good friend of mine, so I've seen firsthand how it can impact you. So therefore, like, I take that into all of our dealings, into all of our dealings. I let every family that comes into the program, I speak to personally. Like, there's no one that just kind of signs up without kind of knowing what my philosophy is. I won't even let you sign up until you know where my head is at. So therefore, you're comfortable with your decision. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, I've taken more of like the coaching part of it and encompassing everybody and looking out for the entire group into the business aspect of it, just to make sure, because I want to make sure, man, that we're handling business properly, so that when the pandemic is over and we get through this, that we look back that we did it with some character and some integrity.
You speaking my language, man. We're the same way. I do not look down upon any parent that wants their kid to go and play at all. Like, it's been 7-8 months or whatever the case may be, but I personally don't want to put them out there in a situation where we're breaking rules. Now, if you want to go out of the area where it is legal in certain places, it's not legal in California as it stands right now in October. This will probably air later in November. We're not rule breakers. And so what do you say to the people that are breaking the rules, knowing that there's tournaments going on right now in Vegas and in California? It's disheartening to say the least, but that just shows you it's more than the actual person. But I get parents wanting their kids to do it, and I'm not faulting parents. Like, if you need to go, but as long as it is legal to do.
Yeah. Like, I don't, like you said, man, like, I just believe it's just funny how this whole conversation kind of tied together. Like, I just believe that when you're in a position of influence, that you can't lose your influence. Like, I happen to have anywhere from 50 to 80 families who are looking for my direction throughout the year. And so if I'm saying, okay, I know we can go play, and we could go play right now, even though there's this mandate that says we can't, I'm telling kids that it's okay to break this rule. And I'm telling 80 kids and 80 families that it's okay to break this rule, even regardless of how major or minor the rule is. The rule is in place for a reason, especially with the COVID situation. And see, we've made it a practice, my staff, my coaches, my team, we've made it a practice that we don't necessarily discuss the actions of other groups. Like, we get families all the time because club hopping and the moving of athletes has become so prominent that, like, people feel that they have to talk down on the last coach to get in good with you. And that's where I stop them. I'm like, listen, we have our own philosophy. This is how we do things. I'm not even going to speak on this man. I just man to man, I just think that's for suckers anyway. And so, like, with that being said, like I have an opinion as far as like what guys do, but I don't necessarily voice it. I just know what we're going to stick to. You see what I'm saying? Because God forbid change our philosophy one time. We put our kids out there and then our kids get sick. There's no explaining that. There's no coming back from that. So I just rather, like I say, if you want to go play, families want to go play, cool, I'm all for it. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna stick to the script that's been laid out for us. Basketball's not going anywhere. Like there's a million things we can do in the meantime. So when that ball does drop and everybody's ready to go, that you're probably even better than you were. Like your body's a little bit more fresher, your skills are more on point. Like it's not going anywhere, especially with the age of kids that we have. Right. Like I can get it, guys in high school and on the back end, they feel like they got to be seen. It's a odd time for like juniors and seniors, but as for us, man, we're gonna stick to the mandates that are laid out for us.
For sure. I agree with you 100%. And, not talking bad about clubs is important to us as well. Like, why would we worry about what everybody else is doing? And, you mentioned it yesterday, staying in your own lane. A lot of people don't do that. I'm not worried or concerned about if they're doing this or they're doing that. It doesn't bother me if it's not. And even if they want to say something bad about me, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And I wish a lot more people took that approach.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's because it could be a nasty world, man. Like the whole club world and word travels. And the funny thing is, you can have a conversation with this person in front of you, couple words get altered here and there, and now you got a problem with another coach. And see, I just kind of stay away from those things and stay above board, man. I tell people all the time, like, I will not speak a word on what they do, but we will highly promote what we do.
For sure. For sure. No, I love it. When things get back, what is going to change for you business wise? I know I've been thinking a lot about that, but I'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
Things will be interesting for us because our facility, we've actually, it's okay. So our actual business has actually boomed during COVID. It hasn't, I wouldn't say we've necessarily gone backwards. There's been some things that we've had to adjust and be creative about. So I would say the biggest adjustment that we're going to have to adhere to is I think we're going to see another. I think we're going to see a different kind of boom because, like I said, man, there's a lot of families. I've even had families that openly said, like, Coach, right now is just not a time for my child to come back. And we actually I actually had to let go of our freshman, sophomore high school team for that reason. And so we'll probably looking into some expansion in terms of size and in terms of facility. So yeah, man. I mean, we have a lot of big things on the horizon. I think everything is going to be a little bit big on a much larger scale. Because I mean, we also have various sports within our facility. I mean, we have football, hockey, baseball, soccer, track, football. So I mean, like we're on a pretty solid trajectory. I'm expecting things to kind of pick up a whole lot more towards spring.
Yeah. And then what's next for you? Do you think you want to get back into the high school coaching ranks, or you kind of like what you?
I mean, right now I actually love what I'm doing. It gives me a lot of creative control over the things we do. I can step on the gas. I can pump the brakes a little bit. I can kind of manipulate the pieces a little differently. But I mean, I haven't completely ruled it out. I told myself that I didn't want to get back into high school coaching until I turned 40, and I turned 40 on Saturday. So
happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I mean, it's definitely been on my mind, but it's not something I've committed to yet. Because right now, man, I got a group, man, of about 50, 60 athletes, man, from just various different backgrounds, demographics, families, cultures, and I like it like that. Like a lot of time when you're kind of dealing with high school or a school scenario, you're dealing with kids in an area, and I believe that our message kind of transcends our area. That was one of the reasons why I didn't have any issue walking away from high school sports, because I walked away when I was 33. I mean, that's a young coach. I was the youngest coach in Nevada for a good amount of that time. And so when I walked away, it was probably a little bit shocking to everybody else, but I knew it was a stepping stone, not necessarily my final destination. So, I mean, the way I see it, man, I just want to be involved in the game. You know, like I just want to be involved in the game, whether that be teaching, development, whether it's on the business side, facility side, operations. I mean, like I just get a kick out of being in. I just get a kick around being in the game.
For sure. Kind of want to wrap it up, but two more things. One, you've got a dinner party. I'm invited, but we got to have 5 more guests with us. Who are they? Would you have them at this dinner party?
Dinner party with 5 guests. Are these any particular guests or just for any walk of life?
Any walk of life,
Okay.
here on this earth or up in heaven, either one.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Kobe for one.
Yes.
Definitely Kobe. John Thompson.
Wow.
Hubie Brown.
Love Hubie. Gotta
Love
have
Hubie Brown. Van Gundy, Mark Jackson.
Which Van Gundy, Stan or Jeff?
I'm gonna go with Jeff.
Okay.
He's a little handed. They're both up in your face, but I like Jeff a little more.
For sure. Speaking of John Thompson, in doing my research, like just stuff, especially with the social inequality, I was so surprised to hear, or I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but there's only been 4 Black head coaches that have won NCAA national championships. 4. Now, wow. He was the first. Big. He was the first. Nolan Richardson from Arkansas, Tubby Smith, and Kevin Ollie. Those are the only 4 individuals that have won national championships. On the women's side, big. There's only been 2, okay, since 1982, I believe, and it's Dawn Staley, and then the other one was from Purdue. I forget. I mean, I'm just losing it right now, but there's only been Africans that have national champions in all of those years of basketball. It just shocks me.
That is very shocking, and I've never heard it verbalized. You know, like that is pretty wild.
Oh, it's Carolyn Peck.
Kevin Ollie wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't that long ago, and he got fired.
Yeah, and he got fired, right? Like that is wild, man. I mean, it does go to show how hard it is to win on that level. You know, sure. It does go. It does show the the disparity, say it like that. But yeah, that's a very interesting stat, man.
For sure. Yeah, and on the women's side, it was Carolyn Peck who was with Purdue, but it's okay. I don't know if you watched the Netflix series. It's about coaches. They had Doc Rivers on there, and they had Dawn Staley, but it was really prominent that Carolyn Peck gave her a piece of the net when she cut it down. She gave her piece. She gave it to Dawn because she said, "You're next." And so when you give me mine back, nice. And she ended up giving it back to her. It was, and I got That's goosebumps dope. Now hearing from it because it was so cool and surreal. But it just goes to show you that we still have a long way to go with this basketball. People like yourself are going to be, pushing that forward. And, we just really appreciate your insight, your knowledge, intellect on the subjects. Anything else you want to leave everybody with?
Oh no, man. I mean, I really appreciate you having me, man. I love being able to speak basketball and life with good basketball minds, man. And I look forward to maybe doing it again one day.
I'd love to do that, hopefully in person.
And I'm looking forward to having you out in Vegas.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait to get back out there. Like I said, my family's out there too, so I can't wait to do it. Last thing, where can everybody follow you, the facility, the club team, everything you're doing? Go ahead and promote that right now.
Yeah, man, you can catch us at Game Changers Sports or GameChangersLVSports.com. You can find us on Instagram, GC Live, Game Changer Sports. Check out our site. Check us out. Come holler at us when you come to Vegas, man. Get some work.
Definitely. Thanks, Coach. Really appreciate you.
I appreciate you, man. I really did. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Beyond the Buckets podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and share the show with your friends. And until next time, take care.